Welcome, everybody, to the Enhance Your World show. Today is February 27th, and we're going to ask the question today. Of course, I'm one of the hosts, Chris Alba. Larkin will be unable to meet with us today. She is under the weather, so it's going to be me today. and, I've been pondering on many different things, over the last, most of my life. I've been a pretty deep thinker and feeler, I believe, and been told that by other people as confirmation. But the reality of this is we're all part of consciousness. We all share the now moment, and for us to truly evolve and expand and grow as individuals and as a collective. It's about working together and not creating division between the labels, the conditionings, the practices, the things, and seeing it all as an expression of consciousness. And for me, the question, what does it mean to be awakened, means you've discovered a new truth, a new possibility, a new outcome, a new version of reality that at one time was either unconscious or beyond the conscious awareness that we carry. And it's an ever there's magical experiences in spirituality, where we feel these high vibrational things. We have all these crazy experiences that we can't truly explain in words. It's only through the experience. So I believe that being awakened is an ever-present state of being aware. Aware of the possibilities, aware of the duality of the mind, which that looks backwards and projects forwards. Their concepts, and when we can apply these concepts, these practices in our everyday life, they create results. A lot of people think their purpose in life is about doing. And really, that's part of it. But the foundation is our beingness. How are we being? How are we showing up? And are we willing to face adversity to grow past the limitations that are currently in our awareness? And that's in our personal lives, in our relationships, in our society, in our humanity, on our planet, all those various different things. And it's huge. It's so expansive. And, part of the challenge when we first start getting awoke, if you will, or waking up, is we learn these new truths of how we've been conditionally deceived through our education. Through the way we were raised, whether it was through religion, whether it was through the education system, whether it was through our generational traditions, those types of things. When we can expand beyond those, we're going to learn new truths. Doesn't mean one's better than the other. That's a comparison. That's an ego thing. That's still separation. To be truly conscious is to be aware that everything that exists is a form of energy, and we put a label on it so we can look at it. We can define it. We can, there's a placeholder for it. So whether you want to believe in positive, negative, angels, demons, good, bad, right, wrong, those types of things, of course, we're going to need those constructs and those concepts for our mind to process what we're currently experiencing, to move us towards or away from pleasure and pain. But when we learn the art of gratitude and acceptance, because that's truly what I believe gratitude is. It's the total acceptance of something. It might not be a good thing, but in some terms, it could be very painful. But when we're grateful for it, we'll learn lessons. We'll gain insights. We'll get to look back into certain things and see where maybe we weren't living our highest potential. Maybe where we've given up on ourselves, given up on other people, given up on the humanity, given up on something, and then we find that when we do that, that we become a victim in life. And so I think to be in a truly awakened state is to know that everything that's happening is happening for us. And it's how we use those awarenesses. It's how we use those experiences. It's how we use those lessons to truly grow. Whether, I've shared on this podcast multiple times, a lot of my limitations in my personal behaviors, such as addiction and, working in industries that were very beneficial to me financially, but they were destructive also to the user, to the person that I was working with, to the people that I was representing, and ultimately destructive to me, because if you try to justify your actions, you're going to find new truths. And the more we fight it, the more resistance that we create, the harder it is to flow through life. If we were all on a river whitewater rafting, there's going to be times on our trip that are smooth sailing. The water's barely moving, and we're just floating along. And that's the opportunity for us to look around and enjoy nature and, the scenery and, all those other things. But when it's time to hit the rapids, that's the time to, just trust that, and do what you have to do to get through those rough points of your journey there, to get to that point of relaxation, that point of pause, being able to relax and rest and repair. And a lot of times, especially I believe in our culture, we've been taught to go, 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 go. Always move, always, striving for perfection, always striving for the next goal, always striving for the next thing, always trying to level up, always trying to manifest new things, whatever. But if we're not taking the time to be present, to appreciate what it is we truly have, to take the time to repair the miscommunications, the missteps, the mistakes, and be authentic and open, and it is true. It's way better if we can be in a calm emotional state when we're sharing these things, because if we feel like we're being attacked, a lot of us will naturally react with a fight or flight or fawn response. And that's a survival technique, and that's going to get us through the situation. But are we truly growing in the highest way? Are we truly becoming who we want to be, who we're meant to be, who we're supposed to be in our purpose, the highest vibration of service to self and to others? That's unconditional love. And we've, over the last, 20 years, or, something like that, at least, that I can remember, when I was a kid, we had the internet, but it wasn't like it is today. Now we have social media. Now we have all these things, all this information overloading us all the time and giving us contrast and giving us different ways to look at things. And I think a lot of times we hang on to something because it feels right in the moment, but we don't really question it. Is this the highest truth? Is this going to help me? Is this going to help others overcome the setbacks that we've seen in the past? Working with a lot of elders and the indigenous and ancient technologies and things like that have a lot to teach us about our potentiality as human beings, where we've been conditioned to almost think like machines, where it's about creating this ideal routine where we're eating all the right things, we're working out, we're doing doing our work, externally, we're getting rest, and we're playing, and all those different things. And the reality of it is all philosophies, it doesn't matter where it comes from, are only for the mind to make a decision. And that decision is a causation to a certain effect. And if those decisions are creating outcomes and effects that aren't harmonious, aren't creating more peace, aren't creating more love, aren't creating more abundance of the possibilities of how we can move forward in the future, well, then we're limiting ourselves of our true nature, of our true potential. And it's our responsibility as the creative animals that we are, because we are nature. We are a part of nature. We are natural things, and we've been gifted with this prefrontal cortex that allows us to think creatively, and that's what makes us creators. So we can create a story that says, I'm a victim, I'm a hero, I'm this, I'm that, this happened to me, I did this to another person, and when we own that truth of that time, and we really feel it, and we grieve it, and we honor it, and all those different things, then we have the ability to find our acceptance of our path, of where we've been, of where we are, the concept of where we want to go. Because again, it's just the concept that we've projected in our mind. Alan Watts, I was watching a lecture with Alan Watts, and he was talking about meditation, and he said, what true meditation is really realizing that there's only the now moment. So why do you meditate? Well, it's for something to do, because it gives you something, to manifest or to meditate and be projecting into the future, deep diving into our past, those types of things. Like, those are great practices. But to truly be present is to realize that we are awakened to this moment. And this is the only moment we have. And then when the next moment comes, it's always the now, right? So we always have a way to act. We always have a way to be and do in the moment. And the more awakened we become, the more aware we become of self and of others, and how they play parts in our lives, and how, all these things are coming together, the more that we can choose creatively to overcome the limited circumstances, the challenges in our lives. It's for anyone that has ever traveled to a third world country, one of the most profound things that I've talked to about people, or with people from all over the world and all different areas, a lot of people, it's about being happy. And in the West here, we have this concept of the inner child and the wounded child. And, that's keeping us, that's a mental construct. And that gives us the ability to identify something and create something to put a salve on it to feel better. Now we get the visions, and we can remember and get the memories, and, all those various different things that can justify why we did what we did in the moment. That's a moment that we needed to survive. That was the moment that we needed to go through. Now, when we are away from that circumstance, and take the time to reflect on, did I behave the way that I wanted to? Did I show up? Was I the person that I want to be in that circumstance, even though it was challenging? Was I patient? Was I understanding? Was I gracious? Was I open to communication? Or was I just completely closed off and like, this is the way I see it, this is the way it is, and I don't want to discuss it anymore. I don't want to have a conversation with somebody that's going to share some shadow knowledge, if you will, the unconsciousness, the things that we don't see because we're too justifying our past. And a lot of times we get stuck in these patterns, and we take it out on the people that are around us in the present moment, and they don't even have anything to do with it. There's a lot right now on social media and, all over the place trying to divide us again between narcissists and empaths. And, for a lot of years, I was disassociating from my empathic abilities because it was too painful to feel. And if I would go back into my childhood of when I would try to talk to my parents or, somebody about how I was feeling about something, or I was having an emotional reaction, like I was taught to squash that, like you're not supposed to, boys aren't supposed to cry, you're a man, toughen up, buttercup, and move on, just, and I lived that life for a lot of years, most of my life. And it's amazing when you awaken to new truths, because those were the things that I was taught in my mind. So as long as I was living up to that standard, like I wasn't asking, why does my body feel so tense? Why do I feel so anxious? Why do I carry on with these coping habits, such as smoking, or doing drugs or drinking, or being promiscuous, or trying to achieve perfectionism, or trying to make more money, like when I have enough, like I have enough for now. And if I'm killing myself to try to get to this next level, and all of a sudden I plateau because I can't do anymore, because I'm not taking care of my needs and what I need on a mental, emotional, physical level, it's going to make it harder to vibrate higher. And I think that's where the whole saying, let it go, comes from. Let it go. Trust that everything's going to work out. Maybe not the way that you anticipated it, not the way maybe you wanted it, but something's going to work as long as you continue to hold that vision firmly in your mind and your heart, and you move towards it. Most overnight successes take a decade or more, but a lot of people don't see them in the spotlight until they've reached that level, that expertise. It's changed a little bit now, since we can all get on our phones, we can all get on our devices, get on social media, start a live or a podcast, or any of these things, and start sharing our insights and our awarenesses and the knowledge that we've gained through study throughout our lives, whatever it is that we've studied. And the reality of it is to be truly awakened is to know what you have, what your gifts are, and play into your strengths. An example that I would give of this is, I'm the reason I chose to walk this path as a healer and a coach, guide, mystic, whatever you want to call me. The label doesn't matter. The reason that I chose to walk this way is because this is what I was wanting in my life when I didn't have it. I wanted I wanted to have people that I could reach out to and say, hey, I'm having a hard time. Can you help me out? Can you just listen to me? Can you hold safe space for me and let me vent? and share what's on my mind and my heart so I can get it out, and so I can see it from another perspective, so I can get some clarity on it. This helps us become awakened. If we're just reliving the stories of the past and saying, well, I'm not going to do that again. I'm not going to work with that person again. I'm not going to meet with that person again. I'm not going to be with that person again, because, there was a time, years ago or a year ago, months ago or weeks ago, even days ago, that it didn't work out. And so I'm not going to create an opportunity again to be burned again. And that's a self-protection. But then I would have to challenge myself on that and say, well, what do you have to lose and what do you have to gain? What is it? Why do you want to put the energy in? Why do you want to have the skin in the game? Why do you want to show up? Like, is it to prove to yourself, to prove to other people, to get a material outcome, to have an experience, to whatever it is? Like, that's part of the awakened process, because these are all processes. I've had some wild ascensions, that I could talk about, my ego's like, okay, you've arrived. And for a while it worked. I was in a really good state, and then through situations happening, not being able to clear things up, misunderstandings, not properly using my voice, not properly using my skill sets, not properly using my body, whatever, those things remain stagnant. And once we apply energy to it, though, then they move. That's how it works. So don't be afraid of failure, because you only fail when you quit. And when you close your mind, when you close your heart, you failed, you quit, you gave up. I was talking with my dad the other day, and we're here on 20 acres, and it's my goal here to create a retreat center and healing center. And I have clients come, and we hold ceremonies and all that kind of stuff. And I was talking to him about a ceremony that we have coming up in April, and we have to build some temporary structures, because it's a 5-day ceremony, and it's supposed to be experienced outside. And I don't know what we're all gonna do, and all that kind of stuff. But from what I am aware of, it's gonna be life changing, just like every other experience in our life. We don't know how much until hindsight, right? And so I was sharing this thing about building these temporary structures, and he got kind of huffy with me, and he's like, this place isn't going to be turned into you're not going to turn this place into a commune. And I was like, I understand that. Like, I'm not trying to make you uncomfortable, but we've made these agreements, we've talked about these things. And so once once we came to an agreement and an acceptance of how we were going to move forward, well, I just started moving forward. And now that you're having some challenges because there's some things showing up, like, I understand and I empathize, and I understand your want for privacy, and all these various different things, but you can't have both. And you can't control me and expect me to be able to help you in the ways that you want me to show up if you're not willing to find common ground to move into the future together. That's self-sacrifice. And then at the end of the day, if like you're always giving and you're never receiving, like, you're gonna run out of energy. And unfortunately, fortunately, being awakened, right? You see both sides. I've gotten to experience that in multiple ways in my life, whether it was professionally, whether it was romantically, whether it was personally, spiritually. Like, what you put in is what comes back out. And, it's interesting. I was talking with a friend and client yesterday, and we were talking about Chances are the people that we give to will not be the ones that we receive from, because the reason we're giving to them in the first place is because they're in a place where they need our help. So until they get to a place that they're in a place to where they can help us from a higher level than what we're helping, and that may not happen, like that just might not happen. But getting back to the point of, developing your skill sets and walking your path, it's realizing, like, yeah, I can paint, I can fix things, I can do these physical things, but that's not what I've developed my skill set over the last 20 years. So somebody that's been developing their skill set for 20 years in those ways is going to be more proficient at those tasks than I am. So if I can help them in a way, they can help me in a way, and we both achieve greater results because we work together. Now, I think that's what awakening is. That's what I think awareness is realizing that everybody that we cross, everybody that we talk to, everybody that we have interaction with has a gift to give to us and receive from us. And that's like unconditional love, and to the quantity and the quality and all that kind of stuff. Well, that's the mind, that's the ego trying to justify, how we're moving in life. And if we truly have faith in a higher power and a higher outcome and a higher whatever, then we understand that it's a continuous thing. And as long as we continue to move towards that with our actions, with our effort, with our energies of mind, heart, and body, we're going to get there, and the challenging thing is quieting down the ego to allow our soul to fully express itself, because the soul isn't in a hurry like the ego is. So, the ego is going to say, well, I've been in this relationship for 6 months and it's not showing up the way that I want it to, or they're not, this or that or the other. And then if you're not asking the questions, well, am I showing up for them in that way? Because if I'm showing up in that way and they're not reciprocating, well, that's a conversation. But how can I ask them to meet my standards if I'm not meeting their standards? Or the standards of the relationship, of the community, of the business, or of the company, whatever it is, it doesn't matter. These are concepts again. We talked about this last week. You can sit and listen to hours and hours and hours and hours and hours of podcasts and study and read books, and you're going to have a really sharp mind. But if you're not actually applying what you are learning into your own life, then you're not going to have the outcomes that you believe in. And that's going to create separation. That's going to create disharmony, and that's going to create resentment, and that's going to create all kinds of different things. And why does that happen? To wake us up that we've fallen asleep again, that the sacred reciprocity of life, of the unconditional loving vibration, isn't happening. And then we get to tweak it. We get to tweak it through our communication, through our actions, who we associate with, all those various different things. And it's been in my example that people that work together, truly are working together, are in alignment with one another, will achieve greater results than any individual can ever do. The challenge being is creating that community, that relationship, to vibrate at an efficient level, because everything is vibration, right? Everything is energy. So the reciprocity of the relationship, of the give and take, is fairly even, and it's going to fluctuate, somebody gets sick, somebody has a headache, someone doesn't feel good, they're tired, they're whatever. They're not going to be able to give as much as somebody that's got plenty of sleep, plenty of hydration, and they're eating properly, they're doing all the things that they can. Like, they're going to be in a higher frequency. So they're going to be able to handle more. They're going to be able to do more. They're going to, you go to the gym, for example, and you lift weights. The weights don't get lighter. You just get stronger. So what does that mean? You can handle more weight. You can handle more stress. You can handle more adversity with your body. And your mind and your heart work the same way. When we allow ourselves to feel the hard feelings, the grief, the sadness, the disappointments, the upsets, those types of things, when we can truly feel that stuff, go into the source of it, not creating another story, not creating an alibi, not creating a justification, not creating blame, shame, division, those types of things, but truly going into the vibration of the feeling and feeling it, that resistance will fade. It's by avoiding the uncomfortable conversations, the uncomfortable feelings, the uncomfortable thoughts that continue to persist. And when we awaken to that those are existing. Those are there. There's inequality in our society right now between the haves and the have-nots, the ones that are in some kind of societal power, whether it be the government or, somebody that has an abundance of financial means, a company or, whatever, they can have a greater effect. I mean, look at what Elon Musk is doing within his existence, and the guy used to eat hot dogs and oranges in college just to see if he could survive off of it. And I don't think he's ever had a money issue. I think he came from money, but don't quote me on that. I'm not totally sure of that process. I know he's gone through his trials and tribulations just like everybody else has. But what he's been able to do with creating PayPal, creating, SpaceX, creating Tesla, creating these AI machines, creating all, taking over Twitter, and, he's changing, he's disrupting, he's innovating. The other day I was talking to a friend about some text that I read once, and it made a lot of sense to me. The reason that the Europeans left Europe and came to America and did what they did, so-called by God and those types of things in a lot of senses, was to help create this balance in the world as they knew it. The systems of oppression of the kings and the queens and the monarchy and, all the different things, those weren't ever going to be able to be innovated. So they created a new way, a new world, if you will. And what they did was pretty horrific in a lot of ways, because they had this purpose, this higher purpose, a higher calling, and anything that didn't match that, well, then that didn't matter. It doesn't matter that this land is inhabited by other people. It doesn't matter what we're doing to the environment. It doesn't matter, as long as our, and we can take that into modern days, if you will, as long as the profits are good, it doesn't matter what we're doing to the environment. And that short-term thinking. And when we take a longer view, when we take a wider view out, and saying, okay, how does me buying a soda every day impact the environment? How does it impact my body? How does high fructose corn syrup affect me? How do all these chemicals and concoctions and things that I'm digesting, How do they make healthy cells? Well, the SAD diet creates this SAD diet, the standard American diet, has been proven to show that it creates all these different diseases, because there's a disconnect to our true nature, and to go and live on these artificial and synthetic foods, because, oh, well, it's plant-based, so it's better for me because, I'm not eating meat. Or, just for an example, that might not necessarily be true. If man touched it, this is my rule. If man touched it, then it's not as good as what nature can do. And we can definitely play a part in that, but when we have these processes, a lot of times we take out, I was reading a study many years ago. It was a study over 20 years talking about smoking marijuana and it causing cancer. And basically the conclusion of the 20-year study said, it doesn't matter how much weed you smoke on a daily basis. It has been proven that it does not lead to lung cancer because of the way that nature has grown that plant, that there's chemicals and there's things in there that offset the other things when you smoke it. And mullein, and there's all these different herbs and all these different ways to heal ourselves. And it's really interesting, how fasting, actually not consuming anything has been shown to allow our body to heal faster than if we were to take medicines or if we were to take other things. And that's not always absolutely true, but Harvard came out with a study a few months ago talking about how cancer patients and how they would benefit from a 7-day water fast after taking chemotherapy, because essentially what would happen is the disease cells would die faster, and within, I think it's day 5 or day 6, we start to create new stem cells. So you can heal yourself faster by doing these things that nature provides for us already. We just have to be awakened. We have to be aware that they exist so we can apply them in our life. And so it's about remaining open. It's not about this cancel culture. It's not about punishing people for their past. It's not about, all these various different things, in my view. A lot of this is my opinion. You take what resonates, leave what doesn't, because I'm not here to control, dictate, or anything to anyone. And there's been times in my past that hasn't been true. You can talk to my ex-wife about that. Because I was scared, and I was trying to prove something to her, to me, to my family, to everybody, that the way I chose to walk through life was spirit-led, and that it was the way that I was meant to walk through life. I wasn't willing to follow the standard way of doing things because I questioned things. I got kicked out of the military for being a critical thinker, which, that's okay with me. I only went in there because I was trying to find my way. And, I was newly married and, all that stuff. And I wanted to be able to provide for my family, and I wanted to be of service. And I went into the recruiting station to learn more. And, they gave me an opportunity to be trained as a photographer and videographer. So I was like, hey, this is a great opportunity. I'm going to do it. And then I got into boot camp and found out that they didn't want me there because I was a critical thinker. And I do have challenge with authority. I have a high standard when it comes to who I'm going to follow in life, because I question things. I question motives. Because if we don't, then we will never awaken to a higher truth. It's really about the question and not the answer. And I think that's where we're kind of missing the boat sometimes with this new spiritual warfare that's going on out there, and trying to put everybody in these boxes, labeling them something, or, labeling ourselves or something, justifying ourselves, all those different things. And I know it's hard when we're accused of doing something that we didn't intend to do, to hear that, to accept that, to acknowledge that, to apologize for that, and then to do what we can not to repeat those things. But if we can, that shows the level of our care within our beingness. You don't change yourself because you don't care about something. You don't grow because you don't care. You don't mourn, you don't grieve over things that you don't care about. It's just the way it is. It's what happened. And to walk around that way might seem peaceful in a lot of ways. But again, the question that I have with that, because, there are things in my life that it's like that. My cats catch a mouse, I don't flip out. I'm just like, got to take care of that. Why? Because it's nature. They're doing what they're naturally supposed to be doing. And, I empathize with the mouse, and I don't allow them to play with them and torture them and all the things that they want to do. I just, if I can save the mouse, I save the mouse. If it's too hurt and too injured and it's suffering, then I put it out of its misery and send it back to source. And those are abilities that we all have. As we go through life experiences, we awaken more to our highest truth, what we're capable of. Whether we like it or we're not, that's just our ego. Are we capable of it? Yes. All possibilities. It's possible that I'm good. It's possible that I'm bad. It's possible that I can do good and help. And it's possible that I can do bad and hurt. And a lot of times we think we're doing good and we're actually causing harm, because that actually is teaching us the awakening of our true potentiality. And so then what we do is we tend to move a little slower. We still take risks. They're a little more calculated. They're a little more discussed, maybe, with the people that are going to be involved. And that does take more time. So maybe our ego isn't being satisfied because our timeline isn't moving fast enough. I mean, if you would have asked me in my 20s, where I saw myself in the 40s, I was already planning on retiring. I had the plan. I knew how much money I had to make. I knew all the different things. And not that I was going to be done with whatever it was that with the rest of my life, and I was just going to sit on the beach all day. But I saw myself in my 40s being able to be financially independent and totally free to do what I want, when I want, with who I want, wherever in the world I want. And that sounds really selfish in a lot of ways, because it's me. But if I'm giving, if I'm doing, if I'm traveling to places to perform as a healer or as a guide or as a teacher, and I'm doing that, and whether I'm getting paid or not, then I'm living my fullest purpose to the fullest of my abilities. I know so many people that call themselves healers, and then somebody wants to get a session or have a conversation or something like that, and they don't have any money. Sorry, you got to pay me. Okay, well, you're a professional healer then. Maybe we should quantify that a little bit, because somebody that's in the art of healing is going to try to do what they can to hold space, to take time, even if it's, just 15, 20 minutes, and saying, well, I only have 15, 20 minutes to give you right now. But if you'd like to share what's going on, you're more than welcome to, because I'm here for you, because I want people to be there for me. And I can't have that standard or expectation if I'm not willing to invest it first. If I'm not willing to pick somebody up that's struggling, that's going through a hard time, and give them the opportunities to better themselves, well, when I'm down and out, how can I expect others to do it? And it's been it's been one of the blessings in my life that, I've always been able to find a way, meet a person, and, they helped me in the way that I, was needing at the time, or, found a book, that had some advice in there that I was able to implement to get the results that I was hoping for. That's a hand up, not a handout. And so many people are looking for handouts these days. And they're not wanting to put effort into their own life. They're not wanting to put effort into the society, not into their community or into their relationships. And they wonder why their lives are as chaotic as they are. So I do have questions, for all the live viewers on there right now. Do you guys have any questions about awakening, what it feels like, those types of things? I mean, for me, if I was to even consider myself awakened, which I do to some degree, I would say it's a really challenging place, because there's peace, there's chaos. There's good and there's bad. It's all possibilities. And you put your heart and your energy into what you hope is going to be the highest outcome, and you move towards that light. And hope for the best, wish for the best, pray for the best, believe in the best, be the best version of yourself, because that's the only thing you can truly control. And sometimes being the best that you can be in that moment isn't your best self always, but it's recognizing that. It's knowing, like, hey, right now I'm stressed out, I'm anxious, I'm financially challenged right now, so I can't help you with money, because maybe I don't have some free money to give away that I'm not getting back. But what if can I give you some of my time? Here's a question: what do you say to people who don't understand awakening? That's a great question. Let's see, how could we phrase that? I find that the best way to talk to people that are having a challenge with understanding is to get more clarification through questioning. So I would ask something like, have you ever had a question that you weren't sure of the answer, and then you found the answer? That's awakening. You were in the dark, you were unsure, you were unknowing, and then you found an answer, the light, and that allowed you to move forward. And not defending yourself. I had this lovely conversation the other day with a couple, and he was super religious. I mean, he could quote the Bible like nobody's business. He was very intelligent and very knowing in that subject. His wife was a cardiologist. So typically, holistic healers sometimes can be challenged in those circumstances. But we had this beautiful conversation about unity and how all the old ways, and he was quoting the Bible, and then we would talk about how science is now proving it. And, we talked about, how those stories and those parables and those things allowed people to gain an awareness of how to integrate it into their life so they could live like Jesus, whatever their mentor is, like Allah, what Buddha, ascended masters, um, you know, the entrepreneurs that people idolize, the athletes that people idolize. Um, you know, if you model what they've done, you're going to get similar results. Now, it might not feel right for you because it might not be for you. And that's what I found in my life, when I chased after certain things because I was told that that was important in this lifetime. And I chase after it with everything I got. When I achieved that result that I was hoping for, there was usually some emptiness in there, and it was hard not to get depressed because I was lacking gratitude. To be frank with you, I mean, that's why I created Gauge Your Life, because those five universal principles matched with practices. That's all you need. Gratitude, awareness, unity, growth, and energy. Why are those my fundamentals? Because it's simple for me. They're simple. They're very complex. They can be very complex if we want to, and that's the deep dive that we get to do, because we get to see how everything compares to everything else. And that was what me and that couple were talking about, was the unity of all things. So if you spend a whole life studying one religion, and somebody tries to give you some information about another religion, they might see the universal truth in that, which is where the commonalities are, or they're going to see the differences, and then they're going to have their own judgment. And again, those are all awarenesses that help you awaken to where you guys are in that present moment of how to move forward, into the highest vibration of your relationships. And, when people fade out of our lives, sometimes it's because they're moving in a different direction than we are. And that's okay. I've learned over the years that, a lot of people that grew up in the city, inner city people, for example, are really challenged by nature. I know a bunch of people that grew up in the inner city, and they care more about their shoes getting dirty than going on a walk and enjoying nature. It's just where they're at. Not my job to move them. Not my job to fix them. Now, if they want my help, I'm there for them. And that's where the invitation to come in and get involved comes in. My human design is a projector. So one of the rules that I have, I learned that I need to live by is to be invited in, because I can see things, and sometimes people aren't ready for that vision yet, or that truth. But planting the seed of awareness and nurturing it, has a value too. So you just have to be present and know who you're talking, know your audience, know who you're working with. Our parents and our authoritarians, they feel like they have some sense of power over us, or control over us. And when we don't do as they say or do as they want, they're going to feel that we're defying them. And in a way we are, because we're walking our own path. And that contrasts their path. Doesn't make one better than the other. That's a judgment. That's just the way it's meant to work out. And it's been also my experience when you can stand in your own power and say, look, I want you in my life. I love you. But if you make my life harder than you do make it happy or healthy or any of those other things, well, then we're gonna have to part ways. Even if there's deep love. I mean, me and my ex-wife, deep love between us. There isn't anything that I wouldn't do for my ex-wife, except for live out of a non-authentic lifestyle, which means walk in the path that I walk. Eating healthy foods, eating whole foods, not drinking, getting good sleep, not being stressed out. Those are some things that help, and in the practices, right? The meditation, the breath work, the channeling, the journaling, the writing, the walking, the working out, all the various different things. Well, those are just circumstances. So if somebody doesn't want to go camping because they're afraid of nature, don't take them camping. You're going to have a miserable time. I took a date once that had never been camping before, never been hiking. I took her down to the Red River Gorge here in Kentucky. And first thing she wanted to do was get drunk. And I was like, you don't want to get drunk here. And she's like, yes, I do. And I'm like, tomorrow's going to suck. You don't want to be hungover and trying to be hiking. And what happened was later in that day we were hiking, and she became dehydrated, and I had to carry her down the hillside. They're not mountains, they're big hills, but I had to help carry her down the hillside to get her to the car so she could rest and we could get her hydrated and take care of her, because where she was at was not in a good place. Up on the mountainside, and we didn't have the resources at that time carrying with us to be able to facilitate the healing that she needed. So I learned not to take her camping. It's still a lovely person, and we worked together for a while, and then she got into a relationship that made our relationship not possible. So that's just the way it works out sometimes. So I hope today helped on awakening. We're never truly, we're not in a stagnant state. There's no place where we're like, we've arrived and we never have to grow from here. And that's the important thing that I want everyone to take from this, I guess, is that we're always in a process of growth. Nature's always growing. And then it surrenders, right? So it can grow some more in a new way. Sometimes trees die, things die. So new things can take its place. And that death is necessary, because when a tree dies or drops its leaves or anything like that, it's helping create the environment for new life to take place. And that's where we have to be aware of what's serving us, serving our relationships, serving our community, our humanity, and what isn't. And reduce the things that are causing friction, that are causing dis-ease, that are causing challenges, and focus on the things that are helping you get to where you desire to go in an imaginary future, because creativity is just imagination. So if you can imagine it, you're awakened to that reality. If you can see it in your mind's eye, that is your imagination, which means you are awakened to that reality, to that frequency. You can bring that in. That's the law of attraction, through the energy exchange between you and everything beyond your being, seen and unseen. When we realize, right, our real eyes, what's present and what's not, we can see the whole truth. And with that, I'm going to end the show. much love and gratitude for everything you are, everything you do, and everything you choose to be. We'll be back next week on Tuesday at 12 o'clock, doing the same thing. And we're talking about something else interesting, hopefully. So much love. Hope you enjoyed this. Feel free to reach out, ask any questions you have. If you want to learn more about working together, walking together, booking a session, all those different things, you can go to my website, enhancingyourworld.com. I'm presenting the Gauge Your Life program all over the state of Kentucky and Ohio over the next few months. So I would love to see you at one of our workshops. So hope all is well, and look forward to next week. See you soon. Bye-bye. Much love.